Hey, Kris. I know it's the first preseason game, but were there some guys that kind of stood out to you that you really liked what they showed in the early part here?
There's a lot of guys that played really well. As a defense core, I thought all 6 of them played really well. Obviously highlighted by Gleason, but I thought he made some nice plays in the first period especially. Highlighted with the overtime goal. Dineen, not Gleason. But all of them, I thought they were moving the puck really well, checking. As up front, Podkolzin, I thought he had a good game, especially with the, he starts that overtime goal, makes the defensive play, and then he drives the net. I thought he got a stick on a lot of pucks, breaking up plays, wasn't shy of using his body, something I think that's going to be important for us. Savoy, I thought, played really well tonight. He was part of the overtime goal, but I thought he made some nice plays too. So, I don't know, I can go through the lineup, and, I thought a lot of guys played really well.
Kris, when you have a unfamiliar group like that, did you have 3-on-3 guys in mind before the game, or did you pick the 3-on-3 deployment based on how they played?
No, I had pairs set up before the game, and then I guess after pretty much as the game was winding down, or third period was winding down, we were kind of just making a priority who should be going out first, depending on how well they played. And, face-off was important. And then, we did have our pairs.
This one's from Cam. He just noted that there weren't a lot of penalties in tonight's game. Very few. Is that surprising for a preseason game?
Yeah, usually preseason game, it's usually a little reckless. Guys are over energetic, trying to make an impression. And usually when that happens, you're running around and putting your stick where it shouldn't be and leading to more penalties. I don't think there was maybe any penalties that should have been called. Maybe a delay game that we got away with one. But, I don't think there was very much to call tonight, which is surprising. Usually there are more calls.
You have some guys that potentially close to being NHL players, but we know your roster is pretty stocked full of those. What's the message to kind of those bubble guys when, if everybody stays healthy, there probably just isn't quite enough room, but there's still lots to play for and position themselves?
I think it's important those guys, they're always making an impression. They're always trying to make an impression on whether it's the head coach, the general manager, or just even the scouts. We're always talking who's best for our team, what can we do, their next contract, bringing them back to our organization, or for a call-up, or hopefully to make this team this year. That you're always trying to play your best, and maybe some of those guys might think that they don't have that opportunity, and maybe there isn't much opportunity to make that team in October. But depending on the player, maybe it's a call-up in November. Maybe it's a call-up in February. Maybe it's getting signed. I think it's important all those players are playing their best.
So another one for me, Kris. I know OReilly got the goal, but just in terms of his, what did you think of his willingness or his ability to be in the, tough areas around the net at both ends of the ice? What do you think of his work there?
Well, I think, with OReilly and Savoy, I went and watched them in Penticton, and they're playing against much lower competition, and they were good, but they didn't stand out. But a lot of times players are better when the level of play gets higher. It's a faster game, but it's more structured. They're playing with better players. And tonight, I was much more impressed. Not that I didn't like their games at all, but I really thought they elevated their game and they were much more noticeable. They made more plays in tonight's game than I saw in Penticton. And that's just because it's at a better game. And you can just tell that they're smart players. They're not shy. The speed of the game isn't threatening to them. It's not intimidating. I thought those two played really well.
Kris, go ahead. I just want to ask you about your approach to the split squad game tomorrow. Can we expect to see some veterans here in town and then sending a younger team there, or how are you kind of looking at putting the two rosters?
No, we split up. We do have a lot of veterans playing in this game. I think most of the guys, almost everyone, might be a handful of guys that are at camp, and we've got about 53. And as for the skaters, probably about 5 or 6 that aren't going to get into a game within the first 2 days. So there's going to be a lot. So there's veterans in the game going to Calgary and the ones that are playing here.
And would you want to keep like maybe your top 2 lines together and your power play units? You can kind of work on that as well, or?
Well, one thing one is the power play units being a little more similar, and we do have some ideas. I'm not going to throw those out. Why we're splitting the teams up the way we are for tomorrow, but I think we're going to have 2 competitive teams tomorrow, and hopefully they play well.
And where are you going? You staying here or are you going to Calgary?
I'm staying here. I am staying here.
Kris, Noah Phillips is a unique story because he took a year off. At the end of his second half in Bakersfield, he'd come on, played very well. There was lots of talk that a year ago at this time, he'd come here and maybe compete for a job. So what have you seen from him? And, because he checks a lot of boxes for a bottom 6 center iceman. Good in the face-off, right shot, physical, smart, has some good hands. So what have you seen from Philp, and what are you hoping to see as the preseason progresses?
I've seen a lot so far. I was talking to him yesterday on the ice, and he's had a good start to camp, 3 days of practice, and then today another solid game. What we want from him is kind of what he provided today. I think face-offs are a huge part of it, especially being a right-handed centerman. We've got left-hander centerman for our lineup to win a lot of key face-offs. We don't have that right-handed draw for depth. Obviously, Derek Ryan was a big part of that last year for us. We rely on him, but it's also nice to have more players in that position. He's big, for his pedigree and what I was expecting. He's a much better skater. I just think, and for a lot of respect for him, for a guy that has not played a game for, I don't know, we're looking 16, 17 months, and for him to come into a NHL exhibition game and play as well as he did tonight, that's a good first step.
And how do you, is it hard to evaluate your NHL D-men like an Ember going up against a forward group in Winnipeg tonight that just didn't have a lot of NHL forwards? So what do you look for when you evaluate your NHL D-men in a preseason game when there's not a lot of NHL forwards in the opposition?
Well, absolutely. It's much easier defending when you're not defending against an elite top 6 forward, because one of those guys tonight we are expecting to be a top 4 possibly. So tonight we wanted to see them moving the puck. Are they in position? Are they engaged? When they were in a battle, we're expecting them to win those a lot more against tonight because of the competition. But I thought the 6 played really well.
Kris, just to go back to Noah Philp, given the year off, is it an unfair expectation or evaluation to think that he can make this team? Would you like to see him play some games in the minors to get back going before you really kind of?
I'm not going to rule anything out. I think it'd be difficult to make it immediately, but not too many guys take that much time off and then come back. I'm certainly, because of injury, I'm sure that some players have done that, but I'm getting to know the player. The player that I'm getting to know I like, so I just we have some more exhibition games and we'll see how he plays, and of course as we play more exhibition games the level of play will rise, so it'll be a good test for him.